So, folks, let's talk about what's been going down in Minneapolis recently. Just kind of a general overview of how things stand right now. And I do want to say stuff like this does give me hope. This is outside the Whipple building in Minneapolis here. They're protesters protesting ICE. And I do want to just emphasize here, they're just standing on the other side of the road screaming at ICE officers, as is their goddamn American right. It is your right to be able to scream at whoever you want, as long as you're doing so lawfully. And none of them are breaking the law here. Yep. Greg Bavina just shows up and starts leading these, fascist ghouls to go rough up some protesters. This lady's carrying, the flag of, a fallen American soldier. These people are goddamn patriots. And these, fascist thugs from out of town are pieces of shit that need to get gone. I want you guys to understand that the reason they're doing all of this is specifically so that this man, this fucking psychotic piece of shit, can cosplay and LARP like he's some kind of battle commander for his brown shirt fascist forces. He's just wearing, he's trying to look cool. And he's trying to look cool specifically for the cameras that ICE is carrying with them. This guy isn't showing up anywhere without a camera crew because his entire purpose for being there is to, essentially film B-roll for the fascist leadership. That's it. This short stack piece of shit.
Hey, jump that bottle! Jump that bottle! You're all fucking pretend! Coward chicken shit fucks! You are
not a soldier! I just want you all to know right now, basically everyone in Minnesota is this guy right now. Anyone in Minneapolis, anyone in the Twin Cities, anyone who has seen ICE actually operating is this guy right now.
Coward chicken shit fucks!
10 out of 10, man. I'm right there with you. These pieces of shit from out of town need to go home. Also, just real quick, CNN, despite the fact that sometimes they are off the ball, is occasionally getting it right when talking with Trump officials now. And I would like to see so much more of this. So much more of this.
Reporters yesterday that ICE may ask people to, quote, validate their identity when asked about Americans carrying proof of citizenship. Mm-hmm. Can you clarify what exactly that means? Do American citizens, as of now, need to carry their passports or other immigration documents to show that they're citizens?
I am so glad you asked this question because I think that there's a lot of confusion there about this. We have incredibly targeted immigration enforcement operations. So what's
No, they don't.
happening there is reasonable suspicion.
I cannot emphasize enough, they're going door to door in some neighborhoods in Minneapolis and in the Twin Cities area, asking if anyone knows where the Asian people live on their block. This is not targeted.
If somebody is in the vicinity of this operation, of this target, then they could be asked for their identification. We've been vindicated by this.
This is Tricia McLaughlin. She's essentially one of those people they tried to appoint as a lawyer and then got disqualified. It's nuts. It's psychotic shit. She's essentially media ready in Trump world. So they're sending her out to basically try and defend this heinous bullshit.
Supreme Court, September of 2025, you all saw a case out of Los Angeles where they said we can use a reasonable suspicion. I think I've seen a lot on this network and other places where they're talking about this is racially based. Absolutely not. Racial animus is no place in DHS and is, of course, not used. We're using what is protected under the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Absolutely.
I want to play this video of a recent incident in Minnesota that has received attention.
Do you have an ID on you, ma'am?
I don't need an ID to walk around in my city. This is my city.
Okay, do you have
This is
some
my
ID
home.
then, please?
I don't need an
If
ID.
not, we're going to put you in the vehicle and we're going to ID you, please.
I am U.S. citizen. I don't need to carry around an ID in my home.
Well,
This is my home.
Where were you born?
This is my home.
Where were you born?
Minneapolis is my home.
So that video was filmed by a woman who, as you heard, said she is a U.S. citizen. Why exactly was she stopped? Was there reasonable suspicion, which is a legal bar, as you noted, that a crime was committed in that situation? And why was he asking her, where are you born? Like, what was he basing that on?
Sure. So either this is, and I haven't seen this video before, so there could be two circumstances here. Either this is a targeted operation and she's around the vicinity of it, around the target.
Yeah, as we all know, a highly targeted operation just has, splash damage. When you do a highly targeted strike, you also hit additional people in the area. Almost sounds like you're describing something that is not highly targeted, huh?
There's reasonable suspicion because there might be a descriptor, or she could be 5'6" and they're looking for somebody who's 5'6". That could be part of it. They're looking for somebody. That could be part of it. The other piece of it is it could.
Yeah, she could just be like the same height. Yeah, totally. Nah, these fucking Kavanaugh stops are happening all over the Twin Cities area, where they just see someone non-white and stop them and are like, yeah, no, you're totally someone we're kind of looking for. Time to take you into custody.
I don't know if she was obstructing law enforcement, if she was assaulting law enforcement prior to this, but.
Yeah, that classic move when someone assaults law enforcement and then just says, their response to that is to calmly ask, where were you born? You all know how cops react to being assaulted. That very common reaction where you assault an officer and then they ask you where you were born calmly without, assaulting you back. Every fucking word out of this administration is just lies. Yeah, it could be some kind of descriptor, like say race, but let's keep going because there's a whole lot to cover here. Because the situation here in Minnesota is really difficult to put into words, but I wanted to share this 47-second long video that the city of Minneapolis put out. And I want you to understand, this is insane. I remember being a kid and living through 9/11 and the messaging after that. And I want you all to keep in your head that context when watching this video. This is from the city of Minneapolis.
We know there's a lot going on in Minneapolis right now. There's understandable fear, uncertainty, and the ringing of rallying voices. But know this, the city is still in business. We are a dynamic city full of energy and love for each other and for anyone who visits. All of us are making our own decisions about when and where we go, as federal officers are in the Twin Cities and beyond. We also want to support our restaurants, our dry cleaners, pharmacies, and all the businesses that keep our city moving. If we stop living our lives, stop supporting what makes our city so great, then ICE wins. Let's show them who Minneapolis is. We are a loving, welcoming city.
So this is from the director of economic planning for the city or whatever. And essentially, it is a plea to, hey, support local businesses, especially our minority-run businesses, which isn't a terrible message to put out. But I want you to focus in on one of the things he said there. If we stop shopping, then ICE wins, which is almost exactly the same messaging that George W. Bush had after 9/11 happened, where he was like, if we stop shopping, the terrorists win. And I just want to really let you know here that what is being said here is essentially the same thing, but ICE are the terrorists. This is essentially like the like the war on terror messaging, but the terrorists in this circumstance are ICE. Like, I understand, like, a lot of people are focusing on, like, the capital element of this, and, like, yeah, obviously, like, rah-rah capitalism, whatever. But the underlying rhetoric of this video is comparing ICE implicitly to the Taliban. That's where Minneapolis is right now, because that's the level of fear that ICE has instilled into this community. And it's not just, like, Minneapolis, it's the entire state. According to the Minneapolis St. Paul Business Journal, ICE agents have started checking documents at the airport and have basically set up different checkpoints within the airport. So I want you to understand that in addition to having to go through TSA and through, like, you know, the additional rigmarole of all of that, you're now expected to go through random checkpoints set up by the secret police in the Minneapolis airport to fly domestically. And, like, I know that this isn't being widely reported, but that's, like, there's a special level of fucked up about that, where anyone who is, like, flying now is expected to produce their documentation to prove that they are a citizen, or else they run the risk of being, detained by ICE. They're supposed to be at Minneapolis airport at least through March 1st. It's genuinely super disturbing. It is deeply authoritarian and fascist, and no one here likes it, and we are fucking furious about it. Okay? I also just wanted to throw out there here that the level of terror that ICE is inflicting upon our community is so severe that they are canceling, like, recreational activities for children. The Minneapolis Parks and Rec Board put this out the other day. This is a communication from Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board. MPRB youth athletics families, considering the alarming federal immigration enforcement activities currently taking place in and around Minneapolis, and after hearing from families and teams, a decision has been made to cancel all MPRB youth athletic games and practices scheduled for Friday, January 16th through Sunday, January 18th. All canceled games will be rescheduled for a later date. Like, they're canceling sports games for children because ICE is targeting those sports games. ICE is targeting schools. ICE is targeting where people put their kids. They are going after anyone that they consider remotely vulnerable. And it is leading to just absolute fury. Absolute fury. And I wanted to share a couple of these things right now, because I think it's important. Here is Status Quo interviewing someone who is peacefully protesting and talking about what ICE did to him.
So what happened?
I was in a signal group to observe ICE, and we were called in because one of our observers was being pepper sprayed, and they had just arrived watching ICE. ICE was door knocking in the neighborhood, and I pulled up. I started honking my horn. I got out with my whistle, and I was holding my hand up to show that my hand had nothing in it, and I was blowing with my whistle in my other hand. And the officer charged me with pepper spray, sprayed himself in the face first, unfortunately for him. Then he charged me again with more pepper spray, and then just clocked me in the eye, knocked off my glasses. I didn't do anything aggressive towards him at all. I was 20 or 30 feet away from him, and then he clocked me again with more pepper spray and punching me, and then they arrested me. And he said that I assaulted him. I had done nothing. I had just been using my whistle and showing my open palm to the officer.
The judge's order just came down, and there was a federal injunction saying that they cannot do specifically what you just said they did.
They did exactly all that, and we have observers that I hope recorded it all.
Yeah. They say that they can no longer use pepper spray on people who are just following or participating in protests like this.
Yeah, that's not what happened this morning. And I was in the jail detention center with 5 people, and all of us had similar stories where we were pepper sprayed or assaulted for no particular reason other than expressing our right. And that's just the theme of what's been going on today.
So they arrested you too?
Well, I don't know if they arrested me. They questioned me. They read me my rights. They detained me since 11 this morning. I was arrested and put into a vehicle at 10 in the morning.
Were you issued citations or anything? Or
no, I don't know. They didn't tell me anything other than they took my statement and then they released this, took my fingerprints and my DNA.
Are you? We can see the injuries, but are you okay? Like, are you?
I'm okay. My face hurts a little bit, but I'm okay. Other things hurt worse, and I felt bad for the other people that I had to see in there, the immigrants who were in there, who looked devastated, horrified. And that was the most heartbreaking thing for me today. And listening to a woman scream and wail as they're trying to process her. Those were the devastating things for me today.
And he doesn't even know if he's getting arrested. I don't think it's legal to take DNA. It's not legal to do any of the shit that they're doing. Like, it's not legal for them to do what they were doing. Last night, a federal judge, Catherine Menendez, handed down a injunction, essentially saying ICE is forbidden from doing the following in the Twin Cities area. And that included here, covered federal agents are hereby enjoined from retaliating against persons who are engaging in peaceful and unobstructive protest activity, including observing the activities of Operation Metro Surge, arresting or detaining persons who are engaging in peaceful and unobstructive protest activity, including observing the activities of Operation Metro Surge in retaliation for their protected conduct, and absent a showing of probable cause or reasonable suspicion that the person has committed a crime or is obstructing or interfering with the activities of covered federal officers. C. Using pepper spray or similar non-lethal munitions and crowd dispersal tools against persons who are engaging in peaceful and unobstructive protest activity, including observing the activities of Operation Metro Surge in retaliation for their protected conduct. And D. Stopping or detaining drivers and passengers in vehicles where there is no reasonable articulable suspicion that they are forcibly obstructing or interfering with covered federal agents or otherwise violating 18 U.S.C. subsection 111. The act of safely following covered federal agents at an appropriate distance does not by itself create reasonable suspicion to justify a vehicle stop. And this was an incredibly good ruling from the judge. This was great. However, it begs the question, who is going to enforce this? Because almost seemingly deliberately after this ruling got handed down today, a lot of brutality was visited against protesters. And I think that was largely an effort to kind of test the limits, to kind of tell the judge to go fuck herself. And we'll see kind of what comes of this. But regardless of whether or not ICE follows these rules from the judge, this law, this lays the groundwork for future prosecutions for ICE. Between the evidence that people are constantly collecting by observing, like the laws passed down and rulings passed down by these judges, it lays the groundwork for holding these people to account. And that, I think that matters. I want them to be afraid that their actions at some point, even if it is not imminent, I want them to be afraid that at some point their actions that they commit on camera are going to be connected to them, and then they are going to be held accountable for it. And even if they're trying to come up with ways to like make it seem like they're not violating people's rights, make it seem like they're following along with this order, they're not going to be able to do it because they're foul pieces of shit. Continue gathering evidence, continue observing, continue to exercise your legal rights, and continue to message about that these are your legal rights, and that ICE is a group of lawless, law-breaking, vile individuals who will be held to account. We will build a movement that will keep them accountable. And I do want to emphasize here, this is the kind of group outside of the Whipple building at night here. People in Minnesota have been keeping things very peaceful. I just want to emphasize, like, we got people in inflatable costumes in sub-zero temperatures, okay? Like, they aren't, like, fighting cops. The cops want to fight them. I want to emphasize here that even local politicians are starting to come around. Not nearly enough of them, mind you, but local politicians are starting to come around. Here is Councilwoman Aurin Chowdhury for Ward 12.
Do you believe there is a legitimate role in any time in the city of Minneapolis for ICE enforcement actions?
I think the way that ICE has behaved and the recklessness in which they treat our immigrant neighbors, our community members, citizens, they have completely eroded their legitimacy. I think ICE is being used by this administration to create mass harm and fear, violation of people's constitutional rights, and I find it illegitimate. And it is absolutely shameful. It's a shameful period in our country. And Minneapolis, we are really struggling, but all of our neighbors are coming together and we're holding tight to each other and we're standing up for our immigrant neighbors. It is our duty as Americans to use our First Amendment rights to stand up to injustice and to hold our government accountable.
Councilmember Chowdhury, federal immigration officials say they are being threatened, impeded, and disrupted in their pursuit of carrying out federal immigration law. How do you respond to that?
How I respond to that is we have 3,000 ICE agents in our city streets indiscriminately stopping people for the color of their skin. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I'm a United States citizen. And yet today, as a sitting councilwoman, I have a whistle around my neck and a passport in my coat pocket to prove that I am a citizen, to prove that I should not be arrested. And for people without status, they are being targeted and taken without any due process. Their homes are being broken into and families are being torn apart. ICE agents and the federal government are the ones that are being reckless. This is not who our nation should be. This is not what Minneapolis is. And we were peaceful. We were taking care of each other. Crime was down in our city before they came in. And now, at the top of the year, we have had 4 shootings, and 2 of them have been because of ICE. And so any allusion to...
Yeah, I mean, half the shootings in Minneapolis are because ICE keeps shooting people.
Any allusion that ICE is saying that our community is causing mass disruption and that they're the root of violence is absolute propaganda.
I want to emphasize here that this woman who was on her way to a traumatic brain injury clinic and was detained by ICE for no reason, later passed out in ICE custody because she needed to get to her appointment at that clinic. And also, her image right now is plastered on the front of newspapers around the world because every country in the world is reporting on what is happening here in Minneapolis. They are reporting about how the US government is pulling disabled people out of cars and detaining them based on the color of their skin. That is how the world knows us. That was her. That was her.
The root of violence is ICE, as evidenced by the murder of Renee Good, as evidenced by pregnant women being dragged out of their car, as evidenced by United States citizens being detained and then mocked by ICE agents and saying slurs about Renee Good and saying you should have learned from that lesson.
Do you believe there is a legitimate...
No, there's no legitimate place for ICE anywhere in any kind of civilized society. And I do want to say she went back on Blue Sky to say specifically ICE should be abolished and they are a rogue and reckless agency. And, I should be following her. But that's where people are right now, folks. That's where people are when it comes to what is happening here. It's the amount of insane bullshit we are dealing with in Minneapolis and Minnesota broadly on a day-to-day basis is really hard to condense because it's just so overwhelming. I do want to say that we've talked about this a few times here. There is an organizing effort right now in the Twin Cities to have a 1-day work stoppage. So no one goes to work, no one goes to school, no one buys shit on January 23rd. Okay? This was initially organized by a handful of unions, like the Amalgamated Transit Union for trains, one of the local AT&T communications unions, one of the St. Paul Teachers Federation was another big one, hospitality workers and service workers in the area, two other big ones. Those 5 have worked together with other labor organizers in the area and gotten the entire Minneapolis, Twin Cities area on board with that work stoppage. So this has now gotten more legs than just a handful of unions. It is every local union. So this was put out yesterday. Minneapolis labor union delegation and local regional labor bodies endorsed January 23rd, Day of Truth and Freedom, no work, school, or shopping. The Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, AFL-CIO, along with regional bodies throughout the state, including the St. Paul Regional Labor Federation, the West Area Labor Council, the Northeast Area Labor Council, and the East Central Labor Council, have joined in solidarity to endorse a powerful, unified statewide action on January 23rd, Day of Truth and Freedom. The Minnesota labor movement is united against the violent ICE occupation of our beloved cities that has directly impacted union members, our workplaces, and our families. Workers are essential for our communities to function. Since the ICE campaign of terror began, both immigrant and non-immigrant workers have feared for their safety when going to work, being at work, and coming home from work. Union members and our families are being illegally detained at alarming rates, with workplaces and schools facing increased challenges. Like, it's wonderful what they're doing here. Okay. From Chelsea Glaubitz-Gabu, president of the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, AFL-CIO. Working people, our schools, and our communities are under attack. Union members are being detained, commuting to and from work, tearing apart families. Parents are being forced to stay home. Students held out of school, fearing for their lives, all while the employer class remains silent. Our labor federations are encouraging everyone to participate on January 23rd. It's time for every single Minnesotan who loves this state and the notion of truth and freedom to raise their voices and deepen their solidarity for our neighbors and coworkers living under this federal occupation. Unions joined the demands for that day that call for ICE to leave Minnesota now, the agent who killed Renee Good to be held legally accountable, no additional federal funding for ICE in the upcoming congressional budget, and ICE must be investigated for human and constitutional violations of Americans and our neighbors, Minnesotan and national companies to become Fourth Amendment businesses, cease economic relations with ICE, and refuse ICE entry or using their property for staging grounds. And like, this is top tier. And I want you all to understand it is not just a one-day situation, because a one-day work stoppage, a one-day act of solidarity, that is a shot across the bow. It is a warning that, hey, we are organized, we are united, and if you do not recognize our demands, we are capable of doing more. We are capable of shutting all of this down even more. And we will do that if that is what it takes to get ICE out of our cities. So this is actually an incredibly important and incredibly huge catalyst for union solidarity. This grouping of organizations, it represents over 175 unions, over 80,000 workers in the state. It's a pretty significant action. And I think as more people become aware of it, especially come January 23rd, the option for it to expand becomes more and more real. Yeah, if you're in other states and you want to join in solidarity, start working with your local unions, local groups as well. If you are outside of Minnesota and you want to join with us in solidarity, you are more than welcome. Because it's getting really nasty here for basically everyone. I mean, like, parent arrested by ICE agents while waiting for school bus with child, principal says. School officials say students on the bus and at the stop might have seen the encounter. A parent was arrested by ICE agents while waiting at a school bus stop with their child in Crystal, Minnesota, which is a suburb, school officials say. Northport Elementary School principal Bridget Dooley sent a letter to parents Wednesday about the arrest, saying that other students at the bus stop and students on the bus might have seen the encounter, which is probably the case. Additionally, business owners in the area are starting to get real fucking angry.
I am a U.S. veteran. I'm a citizen. For once in my life, I'm thinking I'm back in Afghanistan. So really think about that implication. This is not a combat zone. This is America.
What happened?
It's just like we hear, they're running around and they came to our facility. Luckily, we saw them across the street walking over here. Because of the state of the world right now, we have contingency plans on how to protect our people. Thankfully, we were able to lock our doors and deny them entrance.
They didn't have warrants then?
No warrants. They're just
They're coming here on the off chance.
Yeah, indiscriminately, just your skin tone, your...
I want to emphasize here, a few days ago, I played a video of an ICE agent trying to get into Rectangle Pizza, which has been a target of ICE largely due to the fact that it has been donating pizzas to folks who are too scared to leave their homes and donating pizzas to places that are organizing legal observer protest. Legal observing trainings. And they're doing really good work here. But the video I played, I did not notice that when the ICE agents ran up, like they stopped in the intersection, they ran up to one of Rectangle Pizza's entrances, an entrance that's boarded up and doesn't normally open. And luckily that day, like Rectangle Pizza was just closed down because they had made so many pizzas to donate to the local community that they had ran out. They ran out of pizza making ingredients, so the store was just closed that day. But what I didn't see was that the ICE agent and I saw this in a different angle from someone who is on the sidewalk next to the ICE officers. They were running up to Rectangle Pizza like a gas grenade. They were going to try and rip open the door and throw in a gas grenade. There was no warrant. They weren't trying to deliver a warrant. No one, they don't have any warrants in the vast majority of these cases. But as political retaliation for what Rectangle Pizza was doing for the community, they were trying to run up and throw a gas grenade inside. They were unaware that it was closed that day. And if they had gone to the right entrance on a day when they were open, they could have just thrown in a gas grenade to a crowded restaurant. Wouldn't that be trespassing and destruction of property? Yes. But that's kind of the point, right? These ICE agents are lawless pieces of shit. They are a stain on our country and likely a stain on their trousers as well. But they're also just disgustingly evil pieces of shit. I know I keep saying pieces of shit, and I know I've been swearing a lot in a lot of this local coverage, but I need you all to know I'm trying to add more emphasis because this is my neighborhood. This is where I live. These are places I know. These are people that I love. And they are deliberately going out of their way to hurt as many people as possible. And I hate them actively. And I want them gone. But just so you know, I 100% back up everything this guy is saying because ICE is just running around and in the 99% of the time has no legal warrant.
Type of job and everything, that's what they're targeting.
They took one of your employees?
Yes. So unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen to him. It's he pop up and disappear. So we have to let his family know and wish them the best and try to support them as much as possible. We are a family here. That's what we try to really push in the sense of this business. We're a family-owned business. We're local. Everybody here is family. So seeing this happen is very detrimental. I mean, my staff is emotionally wrecked. It's not something you're used to. It's not the America I fought for.
When you say it feels like
it's not the America I fought for. Damn.
Afghanistan, the threat level, the trauma, is that what you're talking about?
Well, let's put it this way. When you're driving around looking over your shoulder constantly for threats, when you're constantly looking at the person, whether they're going to be a threat to you, your life, your state of being, yeah, absolutely. That's what we were trained to do. Are they going to hurt me, cause me harm? Yes, no, and you move on. I'm not saying that's what we should be thinking or doing. Absolutely not. But my own traumas take me that way. And there's a lot more veterans out there, brothers and sisters who think and feel the same way. It's not a combat zone. This is America. We have the police here. We have laws. None of them are being followed. None are being implemented. It's honestly a disgrace to our country. This is not what I fought for. I don't stand for this.
I really want to emphasize this, that guys like this getting triggered by the Trump administration, that is what lays kind of the groundwork for a violent resistance. When Donald Trump has his goons not following the law, guys, the law is how that's how we adjudicate differences without resulting to whoever has the biggest rock, and if the law isn't being followed and if it is being subverted time and time again, that is what leads to the breakdown of public order. That is what leads to people being oh, it doesn't exist anymore. We don't have to operate on their rules. ICE is coming in and eroding that trust in law and the idea of law. with ICE violating the law to directly harm folks, that needs to stop. Otherwise, this is going to escalate, because there is only you can't just keep kicking a dog and expect it never to to just take that always with whimpers. Eventually it trains the dog, and not in the way someone might like. And so the issue that we're looking at here is that Donald Trump and ICE are destroying the idea of law. That is going to have some devastating consequences going forward. Yeah, it's gonna be bad. Folks in Minnesota are increasingly getting to the point where they're running out of patience. So something's got to give soon. Something's got to give. Like, you can only patiently allow yourself to get beaten so many times. And like I don't know what to say about this administration and ICE anymore. Like, they're going after goddamn toy stores in the area. Mischief Toy Store over here. DHS employees entered our store this afternoon and served us a notice of inspection, demanding copies of I-9 forms for each employee. In 27 years as shopkeepers, we have never been subjected to this type of investigation. Given the timing, we consider this to be targeted harassment as punishment for exercising our First Amendment rights. We're still handing out free whistles, and we got in hundreds of new yard signs. Keep resisting, Minnesota. We love you. Like, ICE is just seeing anyone who they describe as their political enemies, and they're trying to do their best to shut down those businesses, harass them, etc. It is sickening. And the courage of people in my community puts to shame the combined courage of every ICE officer couldn't fit into a goddamn thimble. I would take one average Minnesotan any day over the entirety of ICE. These people need to fucking go home. Because most of them, they're from fucking Ohio. They're from fucking Utah. They're from fucking Texas. Get the fuck out of here. Go back to your, local cross burnings. Go, better yet, get the fuck out of the country. Go to, the South Pacific garbage patch in the middle of the ocean and set up your own little floating commune. We don't want racists here. We don't want bigots here, and we certainly don't want them here more when they are given guns and the ability, seemingly, to just violate any law they want. It is infuriating, guys. But in all of that, I find a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope here in Minneapolis, because I want to talk a little bit about the fact that far-right agitators tried to hold a racist white nationalist rally here in Minneapolis today. And the reason they picked Minnesota and the reason they picked Minneapolis is because they wanted to start some shit. They wanted to create a spark for some kind of national attention on Minneapolis, for, the Republicans to say, look, they're rioting. It's time to do the Insurrection Act. Their entire plan was to try and provoke Donald Trump into using the Insurrection Act. That was their goal here in Minnesota, right? This was put together by Jack Lang, who was imprisoned after January 6th because he was one of the people who broke into the Capitol building. Here he is. I played this footage the other day, but I'll play it again.
Door to door. Don't stop. Every Walmart parking lot. Every Home Depot where the illegals congregate. Send them all back. We want our country back. We want our country back. We want our country back. Baby, our country will not fall to you violent migrants. Our country is going to stand for another 250 years of beautiful freedom.
This guy, I want to really be clear, is a white supremacist. He is a neo-Nazi. It's I cannot describe enough that he is just one of the lowest of the low. He's a goose-stepping white supremacist fucking neo-Nazi. Okay? They organized a rally here, Cedar Riverside, to try and provoke folks. I just want to say, hats off to folks who showed up, because guess what? A bunch of counter-protesters showed up, prepared to protest. As you can see,
lawful order on the roadway.
as you can see, the counter protesters easily outnumbered any of the protesters by a mile. Like there were maybe like 10 of them that had the balls to show up. Like just the media outnumbered like the number of people who showed up. Like, basically just people mercilessly mocking this white supremacist piece of shit who showed up. And it's really glorious. It's really, really glorious to see. And I do want to say the reporting on this is basically that a bunch of counter protesters showed up with water balloons and just started pelting the handful of white nationalists who showed up with water balloons. It's very cold outside. They decided to skedaddle in short order as that happened. So, I'm proud of my city. I'm proud of the innovative tactics of anti-fascism and anti-racism. It's nice to see ICE used for good for a change. And with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments. Comments longer than 8 words. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Things might be grim here in Minnesota, but we are going to continue to innovate. We are going to continue to fight back. We are going to continue to organize. And folks, like, comment, subscribe, do the things, and check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, tested on cis men, cis women, non-binary folks, non-tucking lingerie. Check it out. Make a fascist mad today. And all that being said, let's keep on going.
Riverboat deck is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack.